So I am a recorder player. As you can see, recorder power is my hashtag because I'm bored of people telling me how easy it is to play a recorder, that everyone can play a recorder, and when they play it's just shitty and I want to leave the room. So I decided to educate people a little bit about the power of this lovely instrument, and thanks to Sarah, she lent me her Petzold for today, and I also brought real art to work with, and whoever has an instrument with them, you can take it out and we can do some stuff with it. Besides being a recorder player, I'm also a specialist for contemporary music, experimental stuff, improvisation, and I like Renaissance music, but all the rest not so much. And I also decided for myself that playing the stuff everybody else has played before me and is going to play later is not so much my thing. So I love Bach, of course, as a German I have to, and also because it's nice music. But yeah, so it's more that I play one early music concert in a year and all the rest is experimental and contemporary with solo pieces and also interdisciplinary work with dance or architecture, and this is a very good example for interdisciplinary work with an artist. Her name is Carola. Yes, no, Carola Czempik, and those are all of them. I took them to the US for a residency in August and put them inside of an architectural artwork and played a little bit around. And it works like that. So I live in Berlin, she lives in Glienicke, which is on the edge of Berlin. And then we meet once a year or twice a year, and I go in her atelier, sit there or stand there and let this beautiful building, beautiful painting, influence my playing and just play what I see actually, or what I feel in that moment. And then in the background, she is doing new art, like this. And then I go and take it as another score, as a new score, and also work with students on it. And when I say students, I mean actual children, also adults, and people who study at a conservatory or want to study. So I teach one-on-one in a music school as a freelancer, and my students are, I think the youngest is 5 at the moment, and the oldest is 79. And it's very funny to see how they react to art and how they react to improvisation. So normally we start in an ensemble with mixed instruments. I start with, okay, how are we feeling today? What is some kind of emotion? So, and if it's Friday evening, everyone is a little bit tired and they think, okay, so I'm looking forward to meeting my friends, to sleep a lot, to watch a movie, to drink a lot of beer. And so we start with that, and if there's a new member to the ensemble, and then this member can decide which note we take for the first round. And so let's say it's a C sharp, so then there's a discussion because there's always someone there who doesn't like C sharp or whatever note it is. And so this is the first interesting idea, and so I say, okay, so the first thing will be to work with speech and with words, and let's diss C sharp or let's endorse C sharp. And then we go on to the instruments, and each time we stop, the rules are defined, actually, like when does the improvisation end? Or does it end? And what rules do we want? Do we want to have the whole range of our instruments? Do we want to have maybe only a half step? Do we want to go microtonal? Not so good for piano players, of course. But then what about noises? So sometimes we are very angry and we put it in the opposite direction. So we go and listen to the noise or the sounds we can make with the table or with the furniture or with our hands or sometimes they start to slap each other, and so sometimes I have to step in and say, okay, not so violent. And when we want to put it in a concert, which we also do, then we try to develop, also some kind of architecture, a little bit like a painting, maybe like this one. There's also always a freak out space, because yes, when you are a student and maybe like 10 years old, you want to get rid of all those emotions which are in the way. You are like excited, and also it's a bit weird, so sometimes we say, okay, let's freak out, but let's not face the audience. So freak out to the wall and then turn around and then do something nice. The other thing is, what is always a nice thing, to let them paint to sounds of others, like this, or also when they're smaller they like to draw apples and I don't know what, giraffes, stuff like that. So the next step would then be, okay, what sound does an apple make, and how can we transform it in any way to the instrument? Do we want that, or just do we want to keep the apple in mind? How does an apple feel when it falls down, or when it rolls around, or when we eat it? How is that for the apple? And so, and then we also do, what was that? It was, thank you.
Tell me which one.
Yes.
Up.
No, that one.
That one?
Yes.
And then space.
Space. Oh, we're watching a movie now?
Oh.
Okay. That one, yes. This is a picture I took in Los Angeles the other day, and I took it as basically a concept for an improvisation. And this was about feeling. It was, I think it was 2016, and many of my students were afraid of Donald Trump being president of the US, and that now the Third World War will start and that everything goes down and stuff. And we tried to talk about their fears and also the anger, and had this as a part of nature, for example. And then, of course, always a fear with little ones, being homeless, and then all the concrete you have around. And here, the plastic plants. And maybe being somewhere in prison or so. And it's really amazing how children can have their fear and also their stories put into something creative, and then, basically some kind like a therapy, feel better when they have played it, and also talk to each other about that. Because at least in Germany, or it's also a class thing. Like not so many people are able to send their children to a music school because it costs money. And so what I see as normal children are kind of a middle class, almost elitaire class, and so they have different fears, of course, than the working class children or even the Hartz IV children. So basically you could use everything you have as an idea, as a piece of art, to improvise, or just to look at and be silent, of course. And here you can make nice wind noises. We all can do that, of course, but then you can also go from the wind noise and address the fear, and to try to put it in anger and have it directed towards something. And this is something even very little ones can do, even if they don't know how to close the holes. So then you can do And also just work with the furniture, in this case, sorry, with the furniture instrument. Looks like IKEA a little bit, right? Okay, so this will be another angle, of course, a little bit also about social aspects. And yes, thank you.
Say when.
Ah, yes, this one? This one, the second one.
This second.
No, the second on the left. Sorry. Okay. This is an actual piece by a composer. It's called 24 Rooms. It's written there by Paul J. Abbott. And he gave it for me for some festival where I was expected to present a piece, like a composed piece with my ensemble. And the ensemble didn't want to rehearse for a typical contemporary music piece because they said they had so much work in school, it's also it's so difficult and blah blah and so blah. So we didn't want to do that. But then I said, okay, what about comic art? What do you think of that? And so this one was really, really cool because this is like the rooms, and you can go where you want, when you want. You have to choose a way, of course, and then you also play the corridor or not. And we decided to or not because, as we heard several times now, it's always too crowded. And so it's good to just wait for the others and listen or make noises which are really very, very soft, almost inaudible, like to separate this corridor inaudible from this one. And it was really cool. It was especially cool to have those special rooms here, like or and this one they liked a lot, and put it at the audience, of course. I like that. And you can use many extended techniques, but you can also leave it to the students. So I always give a range on every instrument which is there then. And so we can try out, and of course they are supposed to find something for themselves. There I always have the experience that I learned something. With everything we do, I'm wiser afterwards, which is very good, I think. And yeah, so this one is really cool. I can only recommend to try it with your groups. And yeah, the only thing is that it's in English, so you have to translate it occasionally. Okay, so now if you have instruments there, we could try a little bit with the, if you are awake enough.
Sure, everybody is.
Yes. Also with those, you can put them up a little bit. So to start with, normally we can say, okay, so everything which is white is either silence or white noise. White noise is on the recorder, especially in this for a long time. It's not really easy to play. I mean, you can do it, but and then you have the different shades of gray. So I have two basic attempts where to start. That I give some ideas that I say, okay, let's read it like a score. So this is a lower sound than that one, and also those little dots are staccatissimo screams in between, either done with the instrument or with the voice. And also that you have different shades of gray, so you can use stronger sounds or not so strong sounds. Maybe this one would be a good idea. And here we also have fingerprints of the artist. So you can imagine how to play fingerprints. I mean, it's a very individual thing. And we have a texture which goes from left to right, if you want to read it that way. I always leave it a little bit open. And we have things going up and down. So it's also possible to play this one as a duet. So maybe we can do that. How many instruments do we have? Few. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so just we have no time. So we have 30 seconds for this picture. So I would say we do a division here. So this group, you are those, and we are the grassies, or whatever you see. Okay. Thank you. That was the academic version. Now we do the back to the roots, fuck this shit version. Okay?